Alrighty, let's review Rage 2. See, like, that's cool, right? We can all agree that looks fun. It is fun, I can promise you that. It's definitely enjoyable. Oh shit, I'm about to die. So I'll start by saying that I think on balance, I'm disappointed with how Rage 2 has turned out. If you've followed my coverage of the game for a while, you'll know that this was actually my game of show at E3 2018. Cyberpunk was the best game that I saw, but unquestionably the best game that I played was Rage 2, because as soon as you picked it up, you're like, man, this is fucking awesome, and you're just running around, and the powers are awesome, and you know, the weapon stuff was all done by id, the guys that made Doom. The shotgun was literally the best shotgun I'd ever fired in a video game. It was incredible. I just had an amazing time with that demo, and I was like, this is so cool. I played it again later on at Gamescom. Also excellent. It was a different slice then. All signs pointing to this being great. Trailers looked good. You know, Avalanche working on the open world side of things, and they'd done stuff like Just Cause and Mad Max, all looked really positive. I was like, cool, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a solid title. I streamed the whole thing, by the way, so you can go watch the VOD on my Twitch channel.
You know, I feel like I'm doing a commercial. You are, Marcia. It's our Hooters shameless plug.
As I started playing it, I was like, this is really great, and I'm absolutely loving it. I think the first thing that you notice, obviously, is the visual presentation of it all. Gone are the drab browns and mega textures of, you know, the original Rage. This is a far more colourful adventure, much closer to something like Farcry New Dawn or Borderlands, which I guess is its main point of reference for a lot of its presentation. But the world looks really pretty at the start, right? And we'll get to how that sort of breaks down later on. But certainly there's incredible use of color. The whole neon thing is working perfectly for it. Character design looks great. Early weapon design is fantastic. It's ticking all the boxes as soon as you begin, and it really thrusts you straight into the action. You know, there's no questioning that this is just a very relentless, high octane, crazy, stupid shooty game, and you get that impression right from the get-go. After that though, you sort of move into the major campaign or quest or whatever you want to call it, and things start to slow down a little bit there. There are 3 NPCs that are sort of in charge of this whole thing. They'll ask you to complete a few missions, but the real task is wrapping up with them. And the way that you do that is by completing tasks on the map corresponding to their reputation type. So if you see a yellow icon on the map, that's going to give you rep with the yellow NPC, and the pink with the pink, and the blue with the blue, etc., right? So you're going to start out by doing missions, and they're fine. I will say that mission design is pretty generic in this, okay? You really are just going through tunnels or clearing out sort of areas. There's nothing unique or interesting about any of the missions. They don't have interesting sort of, you know, pinnacle moments that make you go, whoa, that was so awesome. It's very sort of just like roll through it kind of stuff. You complete those missions, and this is what I did on stream, right? I got to the point where I completed all of those missions on the first stream. I said, okay guys, that's it for now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go home and play a bit more, and we'll continue tomorrow. When I got home, I realized that I'd done all of the missions I could do up to that point, and then I needed to grind the map for about 4 hours to rep up with these 3 NPCs, and so that's exactly what I did. Now, this was really, really boring. You remember Anthem, and everyone went really nuts when they had that quest where it was kind of like the campaign was going along, and all of a sudden you had to do all this boring open world bullshit to continue things moving. This is exactly that. The only difference, of course, is that this is fun and Anthem isn't. Either way, it wasn't really working for me. I don't like being forced to grind open world stuff. I really like being sort of carried through by a campaign. I like that structure a lot more. Either way, I did it. Booted up the stream the next day. I'd had a total of 7 hours playtime at that point. We played through the remaining missions in the game, of which there was about 2 or 3 hours worth, and I finished the game on stream, and it was really funny because of how sort of abruptly it ended.
I got you, brother.
Check from Cyberpunk, yeah. That's... Oh my my god, that's so good. Like, they didn't even finish the cinematic where they walk outside and they're okay. This is just like, oh my god. Ah, that was so good. And that was the campaign done. So I would say that the campaign of this game, where you're interfacing with NPCs, where you're doing sort of structured missions, you're really going to knock that over in a total of about 6 hours playtime. And then on top of that, you know, you're going to have to do about 4 hours of open world grind. So to do a beeline through the game is about 10 hours, 6 hours campaign stuff, 4 hours forced open world grind. That's it. Now, the appeal of this game is not the story or the campaign or any of that sort of stuff. It's all the other stuff. It's about the combat. It's about, you know, the open world exploration. It's about the upgrades. It's about etc, etc. And we'll talk about that more. But I would say if you are the type of player like myself that wants that campaign stuff, that wants a cool story, you're going to be disappointed with this game, and I really recommend it's a hard skip for you.
Welcome to the future. The year is 2007. Nuclear war has nearly destroyed our planet. Now, an evil presence seeks to enslave what's left of humanity. And there's only one thing that can stop it.
Nobody threatens my planet.
I think there's parallels to be drawn here to games that have done this far, far better, that are very similar structurally. If we look at, say, Far Cry Blood Dragon, this was a game that was like 6 hours long, but it was fucking awesome. It was fucking awesome. It just had this panache, this presentation, this style, this sense of humor that Rage 2 never ever comes close to.
Power. And he's got the Robo Balls.
That's a Rex code guarantee.
Like, you have the introduction to the NPCs and you sort of meet them and you're like, hey, that person seems cool, and they have a few funny one-liners, and that's it. Like, they don't really say or do anything notable the entire way through. You know, I'm saying on stream, the grunts in Halo have more personality than the enemies that you're fighting do in this game, or any of the NPCs.
Focus all fire on the demon!
Far Cry New Dawn is another excellent parallel, which I know a lot of people don't like that game, but it was a pretty decent game. It was just really overpriced because it should have been like a $20 DLC. And it had some really awesome, funny character moments. Like, each of the characters you were meeting were dripping with personality, and they were saying stupid shit and yelling all the time, and it was at least funny to engage them, you know?
I went on a little winning streak. Knocked out 17 guys in a row. Huh? 7 fucking team. Had to quit. Too lethal. Punched the last guy so hard, he farted his brains out. Seriously. Guys, seriously. His brains. And that made me pull up short. I had to think to myself, I got a gift. Well, I can't control it.
There's nothing like that in Rage. It's quite surprising that a game with this much potential in terms of its setting, you know, crazy post-apocalyptic neon wasteland, whatever, does so little with it. It does almost nothing with that, you know? So don't expect to be laughing out loud while you're playing this. Don't expect characters that you want to see more of. Just expect them to be like flash in pan, and then as soon as you've met them, you basically forget them. Story as well, almost non-existent, completely forgettable. So, as I said, I don't think we should just say, oh well, it wasn't trying to do that, so don't worry about it. I would say there are some games out there that have done this thing far better than this game is doing it. Like Borderlands 2, like Far Cry Blood Dragon, like Far Cry New Dawn. And I would recommend all 3 of those games over this game if you are looking for a campaign that is going to sustain you. Beyond that, we start talking about stuff like, you know, the open world activities and whether or not they're worth your time. I won't lie, I got really bored of this game after like the first 4 or 5 hours, and that really makes me sad because the combat is good, we'll come back to that, but it's just so repetitive, man. Like, you know, you go out to the open world, the markers are all so similar. It's just a camp, it's exactly like the other camp over there, it just looks a little bit different. There are these missions where you need to blow up these towers, and they're just like a little tower sitting in the middle of nowhere, and you need to shoot it for a while, and then line of sight its attacks, and then come out. And there's so many of those. It's so boring.
So this is the encounter, right? I stand here, and I shoot his thing in the face. He's got a health bar in the top right-hand corner, which you can see, and then I drop 1 health bar. Cool. He'll then do a thing where he like puts out this little ring thing and I need to like jump it to not get hit. Fine, whatever. And then he'll pop back up. I then shoot him in the face again. He'll do a targeting thing which I can just line of sight. So this is it. This is one of the map markers. I've done one of these towers already about 7 or 8 times. That's it, man.
There are some convoys which are pretty cool, but the driving in this game is so terrible. Like, I don't know if it's any better on a console and it controls better, but on PC, man, the controls are arse, and I just hated driving. So I really did not enjoy blowing up any of the convoys, and it was really kind of more grindy than it was like exciting. Yeah, there's exploring these arcs, which are really just the same as doing the bandit clearing camps. The arcs, by the way, are where you unlock your powers, etc. But look, either way, I would have cleared out probably about a quarter of the map. Okay, and that's just being, I played the game, I saw the credits roll, I played a little bit after that to unlock some more stuff. I've probably unlocked about a quarter of the map, or completed, I should say. I've unlocked everything, but I've completed a quarter of it, and I just have no interest in clearing out any more of it, because I've run out of puff, you know, I really have. I've got no interest in just grinding pointlessly for additional stuff. The saving grace of this game is combat. Now, it's so good. The combat in this game is beautiful. When it gets going, it just feels fucking great. And it makes me sad that there isn't a more substantial game for how good this combat is. You can tell that id have brought their incredible expertise to the fore here. You know, the weapons just are so on point. Weapon design is fantastic. Feedback, sound, the way the shotgun just kicks enemies across a room, the assault rifle and its gatling, all of it is just so on point. And I think this is a really important point because, you know, you might be the kind of person that just loves the action inherent in this, and it could totally redeem it for you, right? For example, you know, Days Gone. Days Gone, gameplay-wise, is pretty shitty, and I said that in my review, but I said it had a redeeming quality in its sort of, you know, its story, its characters, its sort of, you know, its heart. And that carried it for me. You might look at a game like this and say, well, it's really grindy and open world and whatever else, but the combat is so good that it keeps you going, you know, and I think that that's very possible with this. So I would say, based on everything I've said, don't write the game off entirely, because the combat is really, really solid and it's worth checking out. The powers I found a little bit sort of awkward to use. They're okay, you can kind of like push people away or slam on the ground or whatever. When you really get going in the middle of combat and you're just blowing shit up left, right and center and overdriving, it can be really satisfying. But they're just a nice little addition to, you know, how the combat flow. I really feel like weapons are way more fun to use than the powers are, but that's that. Overall, as I said, this is not a bad game. This is not a game that you should be angry about. I don't think Rage 2 is a rip-off. I don't think it's worth $60 though, or $100. I do think it's, I think it's a good sort of like $15 to $20 game. I note as well, you know, Bethesda, they've just become really, really shitty in the last year as a company. You know, you're talking about, they've got microtransactions in this game.
Now, for some unknown reason, you can spend real money in this game to buy shit. I think it's the dumbest fucking shit. I just hate all this garbage. Bethesda just stuff this into their games. Fucking gross. But whatever, man. That's it. You can do it. It's all cosmetic only. If you want to waste your money on this shit, go for it. I don't know. I think Bethesda are just trying to scam people. You know, they didn't send out review code to a lot of reviewers who were very critical of Fallout 76 because they just went on this massive blacklisting campaign, of which, you know, I was in that, so that's why this review is late. You know, they've got horrible regional pricing as well. Like, if you're buying this on Steam, it can cost like $110 in New Zealand. I paid like $100 in Australia, whereas I should have been paying like $80. You know what I mean? If you convert the US dollar stuff, that price point is entirely set by them. It's not set by Steam, so that's them just trying to rake money on the top, which is, again, fucking garbage. So look, I'm not impressed with the way that Bethesda has handled this product in terms of its release, its reviews, its pricing, and its microtransactions. If you're sensitive to that sort of stuff, keep that in mind as well. Overall, Rage is fine, you know. I think that I am disappointed with it overall because its combat is so good that I wanted a more substantial game with that. Its story and presentation, its story is almost non-existent, and its sense of personality is basically not there. I reviewed Farcry New Dawn earlier,
I had way more fun with Far Cry New Dawn. Even though the gameplay wasn't as strong, all of the other aspects I thought were far more interesting. Mission design, the open world. The open world, by the way, in this game is so barren and empty. Between the markers on the map, there's nothing going on at all. And at least when you're rolling around in Far Cry, there's, you know, you're sort of seeing like some interesting stuff happening on the side of the road, and you kind of want to stop somewhere and explore, and it's just none of that here. You just literally keep driving and ignore everything else. So overall, as I said, I think this is a good game for $15 to $20. Maybe your wife or girlfriend's out that night and sitting at home and you want to have a pizza, and you just play through it for 5 or 6 hours, and you'll enjoy it, and you'll put it down and you'll forget about it, and that's okay. You know, that's totally fine. That's Rage 2, guys. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. I just want to do a quick review on this because there's not that much else to say. Either way, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.